Meeting called to order. Today is Tuesday, March 19th. It is now 6:31 PM. Town Council meeting in Town Council Chambers, 1170 Main Street. We've already done prayer and pledge allegiance, so we're on to roll call.
Councilman Dennison,
Here.
Councilman Lichardi,
Here.
Councilman Messier.
Here.
Council Vice President Williamson.
Here.
And Council President Goslin.
Here.
Quorum is declared. Consent agenda, approval of minutes, cancellation of taxes in the amount of $99.81, and abatement of taxes in the amount of $5,668.97.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Second. Moving second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Business licenses. Do you want to pull any?
You want to go all, and then we can talk about each one if we need to. Does anybody have to recuse themselves?
I do not tonight. I looked through them.
All right, that's fine. I do have questions on a couple, so, well, it's all the same, but you want to just
Oh, well,
move the licenses?
okay, move the licenses,
Second.
Move a second, discussion,
registration.
registration.
Yeah.
No, you guys don't.
Well, these are actually,
Yeah.
These are all like.
These are
Licenses, yes, they are. Yes, they are.
I just want to talk about Fight Factory, 3 Bridal Avenue. I know a business owner came here and was concerned about the inspections, concerned about how they got from first floor or third floor to the fourth floor, or whatever floor they're on. I just want to make sure everything is rectified and all inspections were done, because, I mean, it looks like there's going to be a pretty decent, from basically what I saw online and what I see here, there's going to be a pretty decent fight show there that night, and I want to make sure all
Yeah,
safety and.
and I did have some lengthy conversations the next day. The tenant reached out to me, and it was, I don't want to go too deep into it, but it wasn't quite as was presented to us that night.
Which tenant? The
The
tenant
one that was here.
of
The tenant,
Fight Factory?
the Fight Factory tenant, because he heard about the meeting and he reached out to me, and it wasn't quite as was portrayed to us. So at that point, I reached out to the town manager to make sure that every inspection that needed to be done was done, and there had been some inspections. He was, I believe, his business license hadn't been switched to the address, and Sarah could correct me. I think that was, not that that needs to be done, but I think he had done the fire inspection and the building are the huge, and those are the important things that we were concerned about there, and those had actually, I believe, had been taken place. Am I?
So I don't know exactly where they are within that process right now, but the licenses will not be issued until all of the inspections are completed and the various departments have signed off.
These licenses.
The licenses.
So
Yeah.
do we know? Do we know if they're signed off yet?
I don't know which ones are and which ones aren't. So, I mean, you guys should always be approving the licenses subject.
Yeah,
to-
so, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what we do for
We
every
always
one of
do,
them.
yes.
And if there's any other issues, and it becomes a owner-related,
Yeah. And the issue.
owner-related concern or problem.
Landlord tenant.
Landlord tenant,
Some-
right.
Yeah, a lot of those issues that were brought up at that meeting were indeed landlord tenant, but we were concerned because when I heard that some of the issues that were brought forth, but again, it was not totally wasn't totally factually correct, some of the things we heard.
So I guess one of the issues will be that March 30th is coming pretty quick.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, so today's the 19th and
We don't have
I
another
assume,
meeting.
we don't have another meeting and I assume it doesn't actually, I hope they're not being able to, on the 29th, sort of get in under the wire in case there are issues that have to be addressed, so.
Can we have,
Is
And-
is anybody, is Chief?
oh, no, I'm just.
Yeah, I guess the other thing I have.
Chief?
I know, well, the chief, yeah, he's here, but I mean, I just meant like the chief to make sure where we are on like, as far as fire.
And we talked about some concerns about parking and in and out of the building, and is it, all that's okay too?
I don't know about the parking. I do know that the fire prevention and our communications division did go in.
Okay,
They did do an occupancy. They set what the occupancy is going to be for the fight area. They're going out tomorrow to do a vendor area, so that there's a limit on how many people will be in the vendor. The operator's been advised about having crowd management and having a count to make sure that they stay within that, those, whatever are designated. And they are going out like the day before for the final inspection, make sure, but they'll be in contact throughout. But the preliminary, what we can do now has been done from the fire end.
No, that's.
Related to those, I did speak to Chief Levine earlier today, and we respectfully request that one of the stipulations be that the applicant make contact with the police administration to verify the security plan is in place and it's acceptable to all parties.
Any other questions from the council on this? Any public comment on any of the licenses? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And just real quick, all the Fight Factories have been approved. West Warwick Public Library amplifier license has been approved. Food Vibes has been approved, if you're here for that. And all private detective licenses have been approved.
Appointments and resignations. Request from Conception Pacheco for appointment to the West Warwick Housing Authority for term ending November 2027.
Mr. Pacheco had reached out to me, either
You have to
just,
Just wanna move, you have to move.
I'll move the name of Concepcion Pacheco for appointment to the West Warwick Housing Authority.
Second.
Move in second, discussion.
He, actually, I've never met him, but he reached out to me, letting me know lives in my ward, that he would be putting in for this position. Gave me his, his background, his knowledge, and after hearing all that, I think it'd be a great fit for and again, I don't know if you're in this crowd, Mr. Pacheco. We've never met, but, just going by the paperwork and the conversation, I think it'd be a good fit because he's involved in this industry.
So, I know, I didn't realize by the name of,
Coco?
Yeah, that it was
Conception.
Coco. Yeah.
I've only known him as Coco.
Right.
I have met him a few times now that once I heard the name, he's been involved pretty much with the Arctic Village Association, some other things that he's very involved with businesses in the community. He's got a couple properties that he's very involved in on Main Street. So all in all, I don't disagree. He does, I know, his background check came back, has a couple of misdemeanors on it. I don't think it's, it's not a felony. It's misdemeanors and they're over 10, 12 years
Yeah,
ago.
wouldn't preclude him. from
So
putting it.
I don't think, personally that it's a major issue. Any other comments? Any questions? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Coco.
New business, discussion action, town council rules of procedure.
I don't know if Mark and or Sarah want to talk about
We
that a
wanna
little
move it?
bit.
I'll start.
Because it
if you
says
want.
discussion action.
I'll move the item for discussion action.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Sorry.
All right, Mark, Sarah?
Sarah did the most work on it, so I'll defer to her on this.
So, in reviewing several municipalities around Rhode Island and their rules of procedure, along with, ACLU guidelines, I put together a draft, of some pretty, I'd say they're basic, but I think they're, pretty, thorough, even though they're basic. Obviously, I would love all of your opinions and any changes you'd like to make. I think that there's definitely room for movement in a lot of these areas, like, the way that the agenda is drafted. If you didn't like the way it was organized, we could change that. And these rules are changeable at any time. So if you guys wanted to amend them, you could. They are your rules. But at least it gives you some guidelines when you're trying to make decisions of what your process is. So you're following the same process for every situation.
Yeah, which I think is even good for like council after us, looking forward.
Yeah.
A lot of the things we did when I first got on here were things that, with ward reports and stuff like that, which were never, probably ever supposed to happen, things that don't exist. It's good to have a list here. So when somebody comes on here, similar to like when, like with our boards, when we appoint people for the board, sometimes they don't necessarily know what they're supposed to do, when they're supposed to do it. I think it's important to,
There is a lot, with open meeting guidelines.
Yeah.
and Things like that and Robert's
and-
rules.
and things are, as far as that goes, things are changing a lot of times. So when you talk about updating stuff, some of the laws and things change as we move along.
And I did put a clause in here, I believe that it's a mandatory update after a new council. So every 2 years, it's a mandatory update after a new council is
And
elected.
that's good too, because it gives them a chance to review and
But that's not the only time you can amend. You can amend
at any point, yeah.
whenever if you find something isn't working or you don't like that process. You can
Yeah.
always change.
No, I know you did a lot of work on it, Sarah, so I appreciate that. And it was something that we talked about a bit back. I don't know if you're looking for a vote on this tonight or if, and I don't know what the rest of the council, how they feel.
I know I saw rough drafts of this, so I think it's fair. I don't know who else has, so I think it's fair if the council wants to digest it and go through.
Right.
Like, I know we talk about the agenda and it kind of reverted back to where Sarah and her office would set the agenda and all that, because I've always said, whatever you guys and girls want on the agenda, I didn't really, I never took anything off. I never said, hey, nope, that ain't going on. Nope, that's not going on. And I don't plan on ever being that way as long as I'm president, but, and I think it's only fair if you guys put something on. The only thing I've always asked is don't surprise me. Just let me know, hey, you're putting this on or whatever. Just so I know what's coming, or at least the council knows what's coming. We get it on Thursday, usually Thursday or Friday, depending on what happens that week. But, you guys have always been very cooperative with that. Some of the, we've always talked about Robert's Rules of Order. The only thing is, I want to say, there's some rules in here that could change a little bit from the audience or from us. And, we've always been very lenient as a council, very lenient. We've always let the public come up, say what they want, as long as it was within reason. We've been yelled at. We've been, as long as you're not name calling, swearing, doing whatever, we usually let you say what you got to say. And I think, Alan, you can attest to that. We usually let you say what you want to say, right? And I just want to point out, some of these rules may change some of that too. So, it's just, we got rules now, and, we always had our rules, but they weren't on paper. So I just want to point that out. So as you're reading this, make sure you go through it very well and understand it. And if you want any changes, I would suggest to Sarah to, maybe don't make that change yet. Bring it before the council, then we can discuss that change. But from what I read, there's not much in here that we
No.
need to really change.
A little tweaking.
No, you did a terrific job. Thank you for putting the
So-
time in.
It's fair to say we put this on the next agenda and then everybody report at point.
April 3rd agenda, which is Wednesday, April 3rd,
Yeah,
not
just
Tuesday.
Just for the public to know, April 3rd, the next meeting is April 3rd, which is a Wednesday.
Because of the election.
Yeah, just
Yes. Primary day is
save the date.
April 2nd.
All right, we'll take no action. We'll put it on next agenda. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Very well. Request from James and Ashley Rita for abandonment of a portion of Tiffany Avenue and scheduling of public hearing.
Move approval?
Second?
Moving second, discussion. I know, Mr. Rita's here with his representation. How you doing?
Good. Good afternoon, Mr. President. Briefly, right, we've been through this before with the council. You've been anointed by the state legislature on a 2461 as the party is in control of the abandonment of streets and roads in the town. It's a legislative function of the council, and we follow the state law. So we're here tonight to introduce a street abandonment to the council for your consideration. We ask that it be placed on a future agenda of the town council for a public hearing, with notice to the abutting owners and publication in the newspaper. It does require 3 weeks of continuous notification on a weekly basis. So, if we could put it out a month or something to that effect, that would allow for that proper notice to happen. The petitioner, James and Ashley Rita, they live at 57 Mary Avenue and the area of the paper street is the northernmost portion of Tiffany Avenue, which is paper street here in the town of West Warwick. And the area itself is never been developed to the knowledge of the parties present in town at the moment. It's forested, it's behind their home. On the area that we're requesting abandonment of is 40 by 92. It's 3,664 square feet of area. It's located between Ethel Street and Mary Avenue. This whole area is located south of 117 and west of Coit Avenue. It's in Mr. Licciardi's district. The petitioners do live at 57 Mary Avenue, and their request is based on our need to add this area to their rear yard. So the front of their house is on Mary Avenue. This area is already in their backyard and not being used for anything, but they want to add it to their property. As the council is well aware, only half of the abandoned area comes to the petitioner. The other half goes to the other abutting owner on the other side. That's owned by a TSVP 1996-1 LLC. Currently also not developed forested land, but they would receive the other 1,800 square feet of the requested abandonment. The area up to 57 Mary Avenue and TSVP 1996-1 is a dead end on Ethel Street and a dead end on Mary. So these are the two ends of those streets. It doesn't go through anywhere. So these are the last lots on those streets. So that's a basic understanding of what we're requesting. I did submit in the packet a survey from Boyer Associates showing the exact dimensions and location, as well as proposed notice for the paper and to the abutters, and an abutters list for consideration by the council. That's about it. Mr. Reed is here with me tonight. If you have any questions for him, I'll be happy to answer any questions with regard to proposal.
Lot 35, it says undeveloped. Is there a reason why is it undeveloped? Is it wetland? Is it just something that can be developed in the future, or is it just?
It does look like a developable piece of property. I mean, I've only, I didn't put the boots on, Mr. President.
No,
I looked at it from the street, and it looked okay. I would never appear before this council without having put my eyes on the property, and I did go out and take a look, but it doesn't look like terrible land. Just south of both of these lots, there's a stream that runs, a pretty substantial stream that runs across Tiffany Avenue, which would make making building Tiffany Avenue and crossing that stream very, very expensive, which probably explains why this area is not developed.
Yeah, because that's the only entranceway is Tiffany Avenue, and I just want, and they're getting the other half anyway, so it wouldn't affect their frontage per se if they ever wanted to develop it, correct?
Well, right now they have public street access on Ethel.
Ethel?
That's a paved public way,
Okay.
but I understand that they could use frontage on Tiffany if they wanted to do that. I think in the area, you need 70 feet of frontage, and, I can find out from Mr. Boyer what that measurement is, but given that they would have 20 from the abandoned area, they would only need 30 additional feet to have sufficient, excuse me, that's terrible math, 50 additional feet to have available frontage.
So Dave, just to give you a visual, I talked with Mr. Rita and trying to picture it in my head, because I've never been out there. I went to his house a few days ago, and I talked with my hands. I had to see it just so I could make a recommendation or say, no, I don't think it's great. So if you go into the property, it is a dead end, last house on the dead end, and you come out here and you're actually in his house and you step off this threshold. I know we can see it on paper,
Yep.
but to the left of at the threshold in the aisle is all patio. And my numbers will be off, but just say it's the length of the room, which it's not, it's a little less. To the right, that's where he wants to put the addition on.
Yep.
So I'm looking at it, and after that, there's grass. So it's not like it's coming to the edge. And after that, there's a swing set. To the right, again, I'm facing the back. We have the stream, we have woods, you do have a house. It does have access from Ethel. So if you live a house down from Mr. Rita on Mary Street, unless you hear the construction, if you went away on vacation, it took a week to do it, you wouldn't even know it was done. So to me, I'm looking at it as a homeowner and as a councilman, what impact is this going to have on anything in the town? And I can't think of anything. There's no, and believe me, I know of developments that have impact. I'm living it. This has zero. There's no extra traffic. There's no extra trash. It's basically, it's an addition to the house. I mean,
So it's a win-win, actually, obviously.
I say, it's-
obviously,
I
if we
say,
abandon and Mr. Rita puts the addition on, obviously that's gonna raise the valuation of his
Right.
house and his property with the additional land. So that's additional revenue, unfortunately for him. But, it's, again, I spoke to him, I had, one of the specific questions I had yesterday, Sunday was, is that the last lot on the
Yeah.
Tiffany? And he said, absolutely. And, because sometimes if, I know I have a paper street behind me, and I'd love to see it abandoned, but there's one lot that prevents all that. And I just don't want somebody like us to make a decision where later on, that person may not have gotten notice or saw the notice. And I see some of these are in estates and whatever, that they want to develop their land and they can't, which this doesn't, and even when you look at Tiffany Avenue, that 90 feet, that 90 by, what was it 92 or whatever, 20 by 92? If you look, that still goes to that development right behind there. And plus, there's also still parts of Tiffany Avenue that's available. And
Yeah,
if they want to
it's-
spend the money on the little bridge or the brook and whatever else, that's all DEM stuff. That's beyond us. That's definitely beyond my pay grade. But I don't see a problem with this whatsoever.
it just has, it says, just based on the location of being on the dead end and nothing behind you.
Right.
And this is in the back of that. I just, to me, zero impact. So I don't see
So just so I'm
an
aware,
issue with it.
looking at the paper here, Tiffany Avenue, if it were to be developed, would be approached from the north on the paper here from the right-hand side or from the south? the
From,
left-hand side?
on the paper, it would be approached from the south,
From the south, okay, left to right on the paper,
yes.
okay. And on the right-hand side of the land in discussion here, what is right there, just off the border of what's in front of us?
That goes out towards, 117. It's a developed neighborhood,
What's the-
Lexington, Revere, Tampa,
Yeah.
all those,
Okay.
side streets, nice single-family homes.
Last question I have, this is a paper street, lot, let me get my glasses here, 29 says undeveloped. 24 and 30, there's nothing there, right?
24.
Lots 24 and 30,
That's right.
okay. And are they also owned by the estate of Phyllis?
I couldn't say that name.
Crux
K,
up.
Phillips K.
Crux up.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
and Tiffany Road's still there, so it's at that point, he's at the very end. so.
Right, I
So-
got you.
The only question I have, Tom, is the actual petition itself. It says now comes before your petitioner James Reeder and Ashley Reeder for abandonment of a portion of Mary Avenue.
Oh, my apologies.
Yes, so I think you want to change that
We'll
to
correct
Tiffany.
that before we
Yes.
come back.
Yes.
That would be a real problem.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the council?
Just so you know too, when you're standing in the back, I was standing exactly where the addition would be. All you see is wood. Like this house is because that lines up. But, I mean, there's a lot more woods than what shows on this map, so.
Any public comment on this matter? Anybody here to speak for or against? Hearing none? Do we got to vote?
Roll call, do we have-
So your motion should be to send it to public
Yes.
hearing at, our April 23rd meeting, or is that sufficient?
April 23rd, yes, that's plenty of time.
Make a motion to send this matter for public hearing on April 23rd, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Thank you.
Right. Proclamation declaring April 28th, 2024 to May 4th, 2024 as National Small Business Week.
Move the proclamation.
Move in second, any discussion? It's pretty cut and dried, small business week. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
School Building Committee update.
So we have not had a school building committee meeting since our last council meeting. However, we are attempting to set the date for a joint session between the council and the school committee to have a public information session, a presentation by the project manager on where we are to date, explaining the process on how we've got to where we are and what they project moving forward. It won't be a presentation of options at this point. We're still probably a couple months away from that. But right now, that's tentatively scheduled at 5 PM prior to the April 3rd council meeting and public hearing in this room. And the next one, since that'll probably be a presentation of proposals, will be at the high school with time to give it its proper due diligence.
Any questions for Mark? Thank you, Mark.
Upcoming appointments, Sewer Use Board of Review, appointment to fill a vacancy as an alternate member for a 3-year term. Sewer Use Board of Review, appointment to fill a vacancy as a regular member for a 3-year term. West Warwick Housing Authority was filled this evening. Tax Assessment Board of Review, appointment to fill a vacancy for a 3-year term. School Building Committee, architectural, engineering, or construction experience. Tree Warden must be a licensed arborist. Recreation Committee, appointment to fill a vacancy for 3-year term. Public Forum.
Public comment.
I have one thing.
Sure.
Public comment. I brought it up last night during our budget session. And it really wasn't the time for it. So I just wanted to let the council and the public know that I spoke with Rep. Pat Serpa this afternoon regarding the bill brought forth for the extended senior tax exemption. And she told me that already went through the House. She's just waiting for it to be voted, went through March 8th. So she's waiting for it to be voted on. She suspects that these usually take a week or two. So I'm thinking that for the April 3rd council meeting, that we should put this on the agenda. And if it hasn't gone through yet, we just wait, or table it, whatever. But I suspect it will, so.
Sorry, you got that? Thank you. All right, public comment. From the public? Who's first?
Alan Plaza, 5 Robin Lane, West Warwick. And at the last council meeting, I was sitting there coming up with suggestions and different things. And I made a comment that perhaps it would be good for the West Warwick Police Department on their routes going through the town and should ID potholes, et cetera. Little did I know that they already did that. And I guess the fire department does too. So I would like to apologize to the West Warwick Police Department if I made a faux pas. And they do a great job. I thought it was a good suggestion. They already did it, so I would just want to commend them.
Thank you, Alan. Any other public comment? Come on up and just state your name and address for the record.
Hi, good evening, Michelle Matheson. I'm not a West Warwick town resident. I live at 21 Duke Street in East Greenwich, Rhode Island, and I'm here to represent Child Inc. We have some parents here that would like to say a few things before you go into executive session and discuss the 28 Payne Street land.
Now,
Thank
when
you.
you're saying you're representing Child Inc., do you work or on
Oh,
the
I'm so
board?
sorry. I'm not on the board. I am employed by Child Inc. I have been for over 30 years, and most of those years have been working out of the 28 Payne Street, West Warwick location.
Are you there now at Payne Street?
Yes, thank you.
So before, I know some people are gonna come up and speak on that. I will say that, the town council met last night, and you can come up, Annie, we'll let you speak, but, just want to let everybody know, the town council had met last night. We are actively in negotiations with Child Inc. We are going back and forth with numbers. Has response time been timely? I want to say no. Has information gone out there totally wrong? I'm going to say yes. I've seen a lot of posts online. I've seen a lot of people say, contact me. And obviously, somebody actually made a comment to me tonight saying, glad they're all addressed to me. But the council is working diligently. As most of you know, Child Inc. has been in Pan Street for 30 years plus, at $1 a year for $30. I will, and it was paid. We have asked that question jokingly. It has been paid. But that time has come where last year, April, maybe a little longer than that, we received, Child Inc. came to a council meeting and almost 2 years ago to let us know the lease is up and they would like to work with us on a new lease. Discussion of selling, leasing has been brought up. Council voted in public. We had an executive session. We came out of executive session, I want to say almost 3-4 weeks ago. We came out of executive session. We do not want to sell the property. We want to lease the property. And some of the reasons why we don't want to sell the property is, one, we'd like to look at revenue stream. Two, this has to go before the taxpayers. And I will be honest, and I'm going to be straightforward with the parents. If it goes before the taxpayers and the last offer on the table was under $500,000, and I don't think the taxpayers will vote for it. Selling a piece of property in West Warwick that size, unfortunately, after 30 years on the lease, the original lease, it does say the town owns the building. Okay, if anybody wants a copy of that lease, that is public documents. But taxpayers probably will vote that down. So we, as a council, want to lease the property. Now, there's been a dollar valuation up to $13,000 a month. There's been offers back and forth. And the offers, and we now are coming back with another offer after last night's meeting. And we are looking to keep Child Inc. here. There is not one person up here that wants Child Inc. out of West Warwick. Okay, I want to be Child Inc. does a lot for the families who live in West Warwick. I have utilized Child Inc. as a foster father. So, foster uncle, actually, but they do a great job. I've spoke highly here publicly and privately with every single council member. And we do not want to see Child Inc. leave, but we also have to come to a fair agreement what that lease valuation is. And $1 is not going to do it for 30 years again. You know, we're looking at 10 years, 5 years, 20 years. It's in Child Inc.'s hands. Not to get into anything with Child Inc., but there's a lot of confusion going on over there. And board members know, some board members know something, others don't. And that's where the misconceptions happen. And I don't know, after we came out of one council meeting a few weeks ago, we thought we were going to get somewhere because the first time in over a year, we got confirmation and contact with somebody because there was changes in leadership, changes in the board, changes in directors, and we finally got them in the room to discuss it. Now, mind you, remember, they came to us 2 years ago. And then last year, everything stopped. No discussion, no talks. We've had constituents come up to this microphone and ask, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? We said, we're trying to negotiate. We finally got them in a room. We thought everything was great. Everybody walked out that door. The following day, on social media, West Warwick Town Council wants to kick out Child Inc. And we want 1.7 million, 1.3. I saw all different numbers. And we met in executive session. And what happens in executive session with their board and us, it's supposed to be like confidential until voted on. And when we left that executive session, we thought we were going to get somewhere. And like I said, it came out to all of a sudden, the tactic that we were going to shut you down and throw you out, and we're trying to throw you. That is not true, by no means. And any parent that reached out to me personally, I've explained it, and I explained what they pay. Some people on social media brought up a lot of other things, and it kind of, this tactic kind of backfired. And I'm going to be honest, it backfired. Because now people started bringing out salaries, bringing out this, bringing out that. And when we tell them it's only $1 for the property, they're like, what? Wait a minute, they only pay $1? Yeah, well, what about this child daycare? What about that daycare? Well, and again, they don't pay taxes, they're 501c. So there's really no revenue coming into the town whatsoever. And, you know, we have looked at many different options as to how to make it successful for Child Inc. and how to make it successful for the town. And by no means, I don't think any one of these council members up here want Child Inc. out. So I just want to make that clear now. And again, if you are that concerned, you may want to go back to Child Inc., especially if you're employed by them, and whoever in a director, and say, why aren't you why isn't the board meeting more often and negotiating, getting answers? Because it's only fair to you parents to know that your children are going to be in a daycare come June, July, and August, and come next school year. That's the only thing I would say, is you need to put pressure on your leadership and your board that you guys utilize Child Inc. And you need to say, you know, come to the table, because we met 3 weeks ago and with their lawyer, and they were supposed to have a meeting that Tuesday. They canceled the meeting because the lawyer, I guess, didn't know his schedule. Then they met just this last week and just gave us a proposal, and we just gave another, we're in the process of giving back another proposal. And that proposal was a very low purchase and a very low lease per month. And so it's not 30 years ago. We're not looking to get rich. We're looking to be reasonable. And I think that's fair. So just state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Juanita Roberts, 1585 Main Street, Apartment 3, West Warwick. Also, I was a foster parent myself, grandmother. I have my youngest granddaughter who attends Child Inc. Main Street. As well as what you said, excuse me, Child Inc. services have been a godsend to the children. The programs, home-based. I actually utilized Child Inc. My oldest son is 27 years old. The resources, the programs, my younger son is 25. I needed a lot of help with my son, pointed every direction. Pediatrician was involved also with school. The breakfast, the lunch, very nutritious. The socialization for the children, excellent, excellent. Teachers, brilliant, educated. Kids love them, parents love them. They are a vital part of the community. And I would hope the taxpayers would agree, knowing how vital this school and their resources are to the community. Absolutely. I would not know where I would be right now, even with my grandchildren, had it not been for Child Inc. I applaud them. I applaud their teachers, their directions, everybody associated with it. I applaud them, and I would not be with my children or my grandchildren without them. So I hope the taxpayers really give it a hard thought. Maybe their neighbors utilize Child Inc. for their children, grandchildren, foster children, whatever it may be. And they have open heart to approve it.
And to be honest with you, remember, there's one thing. If we do lease it,
Mhm.
we do not need taxpayer approval. The council approves it,
Okay,
okay? If we sell it, we
Mhm.
need taxpayer approval.
okay,
And that would have to go on the ballot and be voted on, probably during the next election, or probably wouldn't be the budget season, but it would definitely be on an election.
Absolutely.
And again, you know, between now and November,
Mhm.
and remember, this lease was over last April. There's been nothing paid or nothing, no communication for almost a year
From Child Inc.
from Child
Not
Inc.
from us.
No communication.
We've tried to reach out several
So
times.
here we are at
Mhm.
the final hours talking, and we don't, listen, we don't want to go down the eviction process. We don't want to, we're trying to solve the matter. We just need to come together with numbers.
And I'll say something, I probably, maybe, I don't know if I should or shouldn't, but
Keep us off.
it is super important, but yet the head of the board for Child Inc. didn't show up for negotiations. So that's something that's very concerning.
Board Jim.
So if it's that important, we were all here for that.
Agreed.
So I think that they should have been here for part of those
Well,
negotiations.
and on that part, we have a lot of, parents that have come to make sure that, voices are heard. And I appreciate from, parents that have come from Child Inc. to have our voices heard.
I do too. And just so we all agree, I think that there was some misconceptions that like we wanted to get rid of this, that we all, there was no argument from us on either side, even in negotiations, that we think that it's a bad, that we agree, we want it in this community.
Can I ask
We're all
you-
on the same page
Can I
with
ask you a
that.
question? What prompted everyone from Child Inc. to be here tonight?
To support our children, to support our grandchildren.
Right, so where did you get your information from? Because obviously you're here, you're concerned, maybe some upset, maybe some nervous, maybe some angry. I'm just questioning where you got, you work at Child Inc. So what was said to kind of incite all these people to come here tonight? I'd like to, yeah. As you are the representative of Child Inc., correct?
Juanita, that was great. We recognize that there was a offer put in, from the Board of Directors, an offer
From
put in.
Child Inc.
From Child Inc. There is a lot of renovations that need to happen to the building. For the people that don't know, we did build the building, and put a lot of money into the building, approximately about $5,000 a month cost to,
That's a Child
maintain the
Inc.
building.
issue.
Yes, no,
That's
I
not a
know.
parent of
So,
parents issue.
so one of the things that we wanted to make sure that you, as a town council, heard from the people that were using the property before you go into executive session, that how important this is for our community that we stay.
And we realized that, and we had
Mhm.
many executive sessions
Mhm.
and tried to reach out to Child Inc. many, many times. So I'm just curious, I saw all the literature. That's the only issue I have, to be honest. I value what you do as Child Inc. I value as a parent, knowing that what's needed and it affects your job, it affects your kids. We get all that. We've talked many, many times about that. But the literature that went out, I'm a little offended by that because it was untrue.
It sounds to me like maybe there was some things on social media that
But
were not
but
accurate.
it didn't come from here.
Mhm.
So it had to come from people that were in the executive session representing Child Inc. And well, hang on. And a lot of that information was not factual. So that's what this does.
Mhm.
And that's not cool. I don't think that's cool. We tried to operate in good faith, and our manager spent countless hours trying to contact someone.
Mhm.
And we're waiting. We're having another meeting regarding Child Inc. And there's nothing to report because we've sent emails, we made phone calls, and nobody's calling us back. So what are we supposed to do? There's nothing we could do.
Well, we
So
wanted you
that's
to hear
why.
from the
But
parents
just
tonight.
so the people
you.
know that's why we're in this position. So some of the questions, I don't mind hearing from anyone regarding the value, but as far as the communication breakdown, it wasn't up here. And I think you should know that. And if it was, I'd be the first one to tell you.
We don't want those communications to break down.
And their line of communication is open as of now. There are some discussions being had, so we believe it is going in the right direction. But I think as a council, last night, we chose to honor the sanctity of executive session, which is confidential in nature, and we will not discuss it, so.
Whoever wants to come up next, the stage name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Sharon DeLuca. I live at 10 Vincenzo Drive in West Warwick. Part of what you refer to as the privacy between the executive boards, I think that might have maintained, but I sit on the policy council for Child Inc., and it was brought up there. And
But how would it get?
that's made up of, I'm one of 12 people. I won't speak for anyone else, but I do know when I heard a possible closing, I did run my mouth because.
You weren't a part of the executive session, so you
So
have
you
no.
had to
you have
get
no-
it somewhere.
You're
Well, I'm
allowed to
gonna
say what you
somewhere.
want.
So whoever gave you that information of a possible closing, if you're gonna be upset, I mean, me putting myself in in a parent's shoes, hearing that information as a parent, like I said, I would be nervous, I would be timid, I would be, what am I gonna do
I would do
now?
exactly, we would do exactly what you
Because-
did.
And
Because
I-
if that's
I
a
just bring
possible
this to you
closing-
'cause I just want you to know the impact. This child here came to live with me about 16 months ago. She is a twin. We lost her twin brother to a tragic drowning accident, 7 months ago. I called just about every counselor, looking for help for this child. And the only people, sorry. they
Take a
came-
breath.
Oh, yeah, it's
No,
okay.
it's-
came
Yeah, it's
through
okay.
For me, and my child was Child Inc. Had I not made that one last phone call. So I'm just begging you guys, set a reasonable price. I don't know what was discussed on your end or their end, but to not come to some sort of agreement affects, this is one, but there's 102 more children in that building that will be displaced if an agreement can't be found.
We couldn't agree more.
It.
We couldn't
the
agree more.
social and economic
We've been
impact.
trying, we've been trying.
So,
That's all we
and
can
I think
say.
at this point, everyone understands just what you said. There needs to be an agreement that benefits both the town and Child Inc. We were as surprised as anyone, and I'm not on social media, but I certainly received it that said Child Inc. closing the day after the meeting. And that clearly was not what happened here. So it's,
I'm not on social media a lot, so.
well, I'm not on it at all. I think we are in a
You are.
place, we're in a place where we're moving forward. I believe that Child Inc. and their leadership also wants to get this done too. So I think we'll find some common ground.
I hope so. Thank you.
Thank you.
He's adorable, by the way.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Any other public comment? Just come on up, state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Ashley Bardellis, 197 Leaguers Ave. And here, I did not expect to speak tonight. I just wanted to make a generalized statement. I wanted to know what was going on. I wish that we could have full transparency, both on the town council and with the directors and Board of Child Inc. to know what was going on. There's a lot of information I was not aware of. My son is 15 months old, and he's only been in Child Inc. since February 1st. So I'm just a brand new parent. This is my perspective. The impact on my life, what they have done for me. And to piggyback what the last woman said, this was the last place I called, and I got in touch with the social worker, and they gave me the right resources, what I need to do to apply. All the red tape, so to speak, what you have to do to get your child into a program like this. So we waited for about a month, because I think it was around like January 6th or something that I had called her. So long story short, we ended up getting in, and my son is thriving. He's in the toddler room. And what they have done for me in this past nearly 2 months has been amazing. I've been able to work more hours. My son is thriving. He's learning so much. How I know that the teachers are great and why he loves it there is they reach out for them. When the teachers come in, they're up in arms. They want to be held. They want to be, they want attention on them. I mean, I can't say enough things. And I love this community, and I moved back here for a reason. But if we can't come to an agreement, I don't know what I'll do. I don't know how it's gonna impact my life. I don't know how I'm gonna juggle being a single mom with 2 kids, you know? So I just wish we can have more transparency. I,
We-
I feel like the information should be out in the open. I don't feel like there should be secrets. So this is people's
So just-
livelihoods.
Just to clear, it's not necessarily a secret. It's when the negotiations happen, if we were negotiating this in public, it would just be,
Oh,
it would
yeah,
be chaotic.
Yeah, absolutely.
So whatever agreement we come to, it's not gonna be a secret. Whatever we come to for an agreement, it will all be out there publicly.
I would hope
Nothing
so.
will be secret.
And,
It does
and
make me
also
very
just rem-
nervous.
And I'd like to point out a couple of things. Again, I agree with you wholeheartedly. As I said earlier, I had 3 kids thrown on my doorstep. And between DCYF and Child Inc., our last negotiations with them, I asked specifically if certain people still work there, because I knew what my nephew did there for the 9 months or the 10 months that he lived with me, and they did a great job. And he went from this Child Inc. to Warwick, Draper, was it Draper? Draper
Oh,
Avenue.
yeah, Drew.
And he went to that Child Inc. Because he went back to his grandfather, and they still did a great job with him all the way up until he started going to kindergarten. I speak very highly of Child Inc. I've also spoken to the council, and I think most of the council knows we've all had children, or, some of ours are all grown up, but some still continue to have some. But we also know that, you try to go to any daycare right now, it's a waiting list.
Yeah,
It's,
absolutely.
And it's also, and I also know Child Inc. helps financially with federal grants and whatever, and the demographics and whatever else. We know the importance of Child Inc. in West Warwick. It was done 30 years ago. And I think they had a great deal for 30 years, and it stuck by that. Now, I am the longest service council member up here, and in 2006, when I got elected, somebody brought that to my attention, and I was like, oh, well, okay, but they got a lease till 2023 or 2022. What do you want me to do? I can't change that lease. That's a lease. And still it was under the radar, even when it came to the end. They came to us looking to purchase it. And we went back and forth at that point, and like I said, everything went dead. And we had to give figures to them, whether it was shocking or not. It was finally to get people to the table and say, what's going on? Again, we're in the middle of negotiations, dollar amounts are going back and forth, hoping that we can get this solved we wanted this solved by April 1st. We're all part-time up here. We're spending probably right now, I want to say 6 to 8 hours a week just on Child Inc.
That's not counting phone calls, that's not counting phone calls. And
Yeah, that's not including private messages. Some of you in this room I know have messaged and talked to me about it. And I told you how I feel, and I'll be open and honest with you. I just can't discuss the dollar amounts that's in executive session. And, I know, like I said, 1.7, 1.3, that's been out there. I could tell you that's not on the table right now. That's not on the table. We're looking at a reasonable dollar amount for the lease of the land.
I just hope it can be reasonable. And like I said, I'm just speaking as a parent's perspective on the facility. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alan, do you want to speak again? I know you.
Alan Plazo, 5 Robin Lane, and I've been going round and round about Payne Street. And just so you know, what I just heard tonight about the directors of Child Inc. not even appearing at the meeting. 2 years ago, I was here when they originally came up and proposed buying that piece of property. And I'm very vocal. I stood up and asked, well, what would you consider a reasonable offer? The number that was thrown out that night was $50,000. If you go online and see the valuation of that building, and that's not there, but that number was thrown out that night. I am very vocal about the taxpayers in this town. I speak to them when I'm up here at this meeting. I don't think you're aware of these numbers, but you should be. And as Mr. Goslin, I don't agree with him very often, but he said a reasonable number to the taxpayers, to the parents that utilize it. But back then, $50,000 shocked me. And you need to be aware if that side of the table isn't coming and negotiating in good faith, to me, that's a major problem that you need to take up with them. So I just wanted you to be aware, going way back when and they can all, well, most of them can testify. When I asked the question and I heard that number and I said, oh my God, because when I grew up, that was a major playground in this town. Payne Street, Natick, Crompton, Arctic Hill. Arctic Hill's gone now, it's a parking lot. However, you need to take all factors into consideration and speak to who was addressing this issue on your part. Because I know they're negotiating, and I'm very big on executive session, open meetings, et cetera. I'll guarantee you, if they would have violated that, I would have been all over them. So I just wanted to put that out so you know where it's coming from.
And again, going back to what Alan said, 50,000 is actually, they wanted us to donate it. And again, we couldn't
Yes.
even donate it because we have to put that on the,
That'd be voted on too.
be voted on.
Yeah.
So, and whether, you think that the vote would pass or not, it'd be very tough to pass that you're giving away the taxpayers' land. So, again, we're looking, we want to make it successful for everybody. And we want to see Child Inc. here for another 20, 30 years.
And if you don't mind, Mr. President, I'm going to be the last one to break our agreement. That's the president speaking about this only. So I don't want anybody to think I'm up here not concerned about this, because I am. There's been some times in my own personal life where you're a little nervous day to day. And one of those times was when my wife and I had some uncertainty about our childcare. We were in a place, it was a private daycare, but then that fell through. That person decided to do something else with their life, and we were left with all the questions that I'm sure you guys have been facing over the last bunch of weeks and months. So we understand, and I think it's been set up here by everybody. The last thing we want is to lose Child Inc. in this town. We understand the service it provides. We agree that it's important, but I also want to be very clear that we are accountable to the taxpayers. And I think you can all understand that. And that doesn't mean squeezing every last little penny out of somebody. It just means that we have to give something to the taxpayers that's acceptable to them and obviously acceptable to Child Inc. And we want you to stay here. We want you to be here, continuing to provide these services for the kids. But that's really all I wanted to say, and we understand. But what I would ask of everybody in this room that visits Child Inc. every day to drop their children off and pick them up is have a conversation with some of the folks there and say, look, what we heard at the town council meeting last night is they want to resolve this. And we do. And right now it's kind of a cloud hanging over Child Inc. And the way to make that cloud disappear is not to ignore it, it's to address it. We're not scary people. We talk to people and we come up with what we hope is the best decision for all. That's all I have. If you have more to say, come on up and.
I want to make sure I understand correctly. I'm not sure who said it, but if you're looking at selling Payne Street,
No.
you need taxpayers' approval.
Correct,
Yes.
that's correct.
If you're leasing, it's the council's approval.
Our approval.
Yeah, we can't sell any piece.
You have the authority to make a reasonable offer to Child Inc.
Correct.
Correct.
Right? I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any sale of property would have, not just for this property, has to go for a taxpayer approval
Okay.
with the
And
few
we've
exceptions.
decided that that's not the approach we want to take.
If you look on the last ballot in West Warwick, actually, if I remember, a piece of, I want to say Pontiac Avenue, is it Pontiac or is it? Yeah, 2022, there was a piece of land there where now there's a pump station. It's literally
Kent County
the
Water.
size of this room. And it went before the taxpayers at $199,000. And they voted yes on that. But that's a piece of sewer road is what I call sewer road, right? It's,
Right.
it was pretty easy to sell. Where, like Mr. Palazzo said, that facility over there used to be a wonderful playground. And it's before, if we decide we're gonna put that on the ballot for a very reasonable price, I could tell you it probably get voted down. But that's why we want to go with the lease, because we think we can do a reasonable lease and.
And
we
get it
can-
done more expeditiously. It'll take a lot less time to do it that way than to have a sale and put it on the ballot. So we're looking to get it done.
Any other public comment? I want to thank you all. I know a lot of you took some time out of your day and wrote letters to us. And, as Councilman Licciardi said, I mean, I know I try to stay off social media as much as possible, but, when people are starting to tag me and send it over to me, my name was right there with my home phone number. Ironically, I don't know why
Yeah, your
I
wife
think my-
took those calls.
So my wife got to take all those phone calls, whether they were pleasant or not pleasant if I wasn't home. But again, I was able to return some calls that, having those one-on-one conversations, and people were unaware of a lot of things. And once we made people aware of what's going on, where we feel, I have assured them that we, the council, are trying to resolve these matters. You weren't told that nobody responded to the town for over a year. You weren't told, there's a lot of things you weren't told, and now, and I don't want to be in a defensive mode, and I hate being in a defensive mode, but some of you are every one of you who are here from West Warwick are our constituents. You elect us to help make these decisions for you. And the last thing I want is my constituents or anybody's constituents up here to be misinformed. And then, oh, I hate Dave Goslin because he wants to close down Child Inc. And if you don't know the fact of the matter, you're going to believe that. If you only hear half the story, you may believe that. There was people actually accusing me of trying to close down Child Inc. When I told them I utilized Child Inc., I've told them, I gave them the dates of the meetings to go back and listen to. I was an advocate saying, I've used Child Inc. Great job. Anybody who does get to use them, I know it's very professional in there. I know people who work there. I know people who work at Draper Street. Whether it's friends, family, whatever, they speak very highly of the employment there. They speak very highly of the parents, and the parents speak very highly of Child Inc. It's obvious here. You have 25, 30 people in the crowd here, all from favor of Child Inc. But I think you're also in favor of your child. And and we understand it. I think every one of us up here are parents. We've either had, and grandparents. So we understand. And we want to work with Child Inc. as much as we can. Thank you.
Does that clear everything up for everybody before we leave? Okay,
And again,
no news is good news.
if you want,
you have any
wanna call
questions,
me
call us.
personally, I don't have a problem with anybody calling me. If you call my house phone, it might be a day or two before I get the message, because everybody's great in my house are writing those down. I get a message saying, check messages. But, again, and the same thing with Child Inc. We just need them to be working closely with our town manager and our town solicitor, as that's who we appointed to make those negotiations and have those conversations. Child Inc. has their attorney, they have their director, and they have their board. And I know they have to report back to the board, just like the town manager and the town solicitor has to report back to the council. But again, I think leasing is the best option and quickest option. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Hearing none?
Got a motion to adjourn?
Nope.
Motion to move into executive session. I apologize.
Is anybody online for public comment?
No,
Nope.
good. Thank you for
Motion-
checking
Motion
that.
to move into executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Thank
you.
you
You have a
again,
good
everybody,
night.
for coming out.
thank you.
Yes, there is. There's three.
I don't know how I feel. Alan's agreeing with us. I don't know how I feel about this. Feels a little uncomfortable.
I wasn't either. I couldn't be the only one not to.
I'll be right with you.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
But
They're not on the website. I can see that.
I'm just wondering.
This is bullshit.
Some of the other meetings, so they previous expand the technology. So I want to point out one thing. Nope, I'm gonna.
Bring your shovel next time.
I want to give you education on the town council. So you know, back when John Flynn was on the council, there was never a second town council meeting, it was just a sewer commission. So there was a town council meeting the first Tuesday, sewer commission the third Tuesday. But that council decided they wanted to add a second council meeting to the month of.
Every month except July and August,
Except,
right?
well,
Yeah.
we cut July and
Yeah,
August.
yeah.
And do you
So-
know why?
I really don't.
Because there was just so much to say.
Well, I'm just saying.
Peter Kelsey, Tom Federski, they had so much to say. Your predecessors in Ward 5, they had so much to say.